This is the doomtombpodcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. My name is Chris. I am your host. We have got another top 5 from a band we interviewed back in 2020. Actually had them on the podcast twice to go over their older material and their brand new release that they released last year. Looking forward to seeing what they have in 2021 and down the line. Now, speaking of down the line, at the end of this podcast, you're going to hear something, a quick story, and the answer was, it was from a person. Isn't that special? Isn't that wonderful? Now, let's get into the top 5. We're back with one of the members from Falcon Haptics, Nathaniel, and we have his top 5 right now. Nathaniel, what's your top 5?
My top 5, Chris, is going to be sci-fi novels.
Interesting. Okay. Full disclosure, I know a little bit. I don't know a lot.
Okay.
I hope maybe we can guide each other through this. So are you going from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5?
I'll go 5 to 1. I'll build it up.
All right, let's go. What is your number 5?
All right, so the first one I chose is a novel called The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. I think it's one of his lesser-known novels, and I'm by no means an expert on the sci-fi genre. I try to read as much as I can, but I don't read. But I love
me
sci-fi.
either. I try, it's so difficult. Asimov has come up several times in the podcast. Some people they've created music based off his works.
Nice.
I remember hearing about a Nebula Award. Right. It's an award for science fiction. And I don't know a lot about this, except I remember something about either a paraverse, a parallel universe, something like that. Tell me a little bit about this novel.
Yeah, it's basically all about parallel universes. There's 2 universes that are in contact with each other, and they're trying to work together to help each other out because one universe is expanding and the other one's contracting. So I think if I remember correctly, the human, our universe is expanding and the other one's contracting. So what they did is they've created this pump that kind of exists in between universes that is trying to create an equilibrium to keep them from moving around. That's the basic premise of it. And, that's kind of, that's the main storyline, but it follows kind of romantic interests that exist between both worlds. That's really what the book's about, from what I remember. In the parallel universe, there's 3 sexes as opposed to 2 in this human universe. So you follow these characters as they try and kind of figure each other out in these different universes. And right. You see how these 3 beings have to come together to create a relationship in this other universe, and it's really pretty mind-blowing.
That is, hats off, man. I remember researching for the Nebula Award, and it's like anything that's over 40,000 words can be, maybe nominated or whatever for the award, or that's how, that's what it is. I just can't imagine writing that much, man. I mean, do you, I know obviously since we're going down this, you read more than others, maybe not so much as some others, but have you ever tried your hand at it? Like tried to flesh out an idea for a book or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. I have a kind of a crappy plot line that's always existed in my head for a book, and I've tried it out, but I need to devote more time to it. I got to build more time in my life so I can actually spend a lot more time on it. But yeah, I've always been fascinated with writing. I want to get into that eventually at some point.
It just seems so interesting to me. Like I've never really talked to a writer, like, a novelist. So I don't know whether I'm assuming they do an outline of their work. They don't just start writing. It's like it has to be constructed and then broken down again, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you more about the process because I'm such a newbie at it. You know, I haven't gone through and struggled enough to really give you any meaningful information about it. But yeah, there's definitely processes like that where you gotta try and construct something. But depends on who you talk to, because I know like Stephen King's kind of the opposite of that. He just, you know, from what I've heard, does a bunch of coke, or at least did back in the day, and just starts going at it until the book happens.
You know, it's fun. You know what? It's so funny you mentioned that, man. You know, growing up, there was this band, an all-female group, the Go-Go's.
Okay.
And, you know, they had a couple hits, and they were, you know, at the time, they were bigger than life. I just didn't know that there were so many drug issues. Like, I was like, oh, look at them. They're, you know, it's kind of happy, poppy, whatever. Meanwhile, one person's a heroin addict. One person, I didn't even know. There was a different person that was in the band before she left the band, or they basically fired her because they were changing from punk to more pop, I guess. And they brought this other woman in. I'm blanking on her name, but I see her face. And it's the bassist. And she said that she got in a room and she just kept listening to this tape over and over, and then just did a bunch of blow, and then figured out all the songs. I mean, I guess that's the way it was back in the day. I don't know how more people's hearts didn't explode, but, well, you know.
Yeah, I think it catches up with them later on, you know.
I would assume so. I mean, you know, it has to somewhere down the line. You never know, brother. All right. So now I'm gonna ask you this after each of the top five, and I'll ask you first with the Asimov novel. Does that influence you, that novel, in any way for your music?
This one, no, probably not. I put it on the list just because it was the first book that I sat down and I read in one sitting, because I was in detention in high school, and I was like, sweet, I was like in school detention in high school, and I didn't have to go to class, so I just brought a book with me, and it was a really good day. I just knocked this book out, and it was awesome.
If you don't mind, what was the offense?
Skipping school.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I got into skipping school a lot.
I hear you. You know, it's and I don't know. Maybe something will come along with that down the line. What is your number 4?
Number 4, I went with Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury, tried and true sci-fi classic.
Dude, that's it. I feel like we're in a space. Okay, I know this one. Little bit censorship, McCarthyism. Yep. I think it was around that time that he wrote it. I'm not positive. What can you tell me about it, and why is it one of your faves?
What really struck me about this book is the imagery and the way that settings and events are described. It's very dreamlike for such a bleak dystopian setting. It's very, I don't know, it's very beautiful the way everything is described, the way that he compares things, his metaphors and his similes that he uses. It's I don't know, it's just brilliant.
And it's even funny that you say that when we have to preface it with as long as you get an uncensored version. I do remember seeing like little things about, there was even words that you see every day now on regular television, whether it was, hell or damn or whatever. And I remember they were talking about somebody was being drunk or something, and they changed it to him being sick. Like, you can't even say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was something weird. Like, I don't know. The guy was.
I wasn't aware of that.
He was picking something out of his belly button or something, and then they changed it to like his ear. I forget. It was something like that.
Whoa! I'll have to go back and read it and see what version I've got. I think I have an older version, so I'm assuming mine's uncensored, but I don't know. That's really interesting.
And it's. I mean, it's. I cannot believe it how that, I mean, it's directly related to McCarthyism for me, because the protagonist, from what I remember, wasn't he the fire guy, like the book burner guy?
Yeah, he worked for them. He was one of the firefighters.
Right.
And eventually, whatever, somehow he started to question himself. Well, it's because he saw at the beginning of the book, the opening, he sees a girl walking down the street, and he keeps talking to this girl because she seems so free-spirited. He's like, what the hell is this? And eventually she gets taken away. But that little catalyst kind of set him on his path. And it's got some frightening parallels for where we live today, what we've got going on today. I think the most notable one is his wife. Well, the main character, his name's Guy. I think that's how you pronounce it, Guy Montag. And his wife, she's like, he's questioning his existence, and she is 100% in the Matrix, doesn't want to think about anything else. She's totally convinced of like the status quo. And she's got, in the book, Ray Bradbury describes as seashells in her ears, like headphones, these wireless headphones that she's constantly wearing all the time, and she's constantly being fed media and entertainment, and she just always has these fucking headphones on, and she just, is blissfully unaware of, what reality is. She's just totally conforming to what's being fed to her, and she spends a lot of her time hanging out in this entertainment room where all of the walls are screens. So she's got these seashells on, and she's constantly, inundated with media. And it's like, you look at today and you just look at how often you sit on Instagram and just like look at shit, you know what I mean? It's like, he totally called it what's happening.
even as long as we can go outside of, because look, I go on social quite a bit, and I scroll, I like stuff and whatever, and comment. And I do find little tiny things that are kind of strange to me, and I think it's with like Facebook, when there's this thing called Facebook Watch where you can watch videos.
Okay.
And there's also TikTok is another one, and in looking at the screen, it reminds me of Vegas in a way, because I don't see any time.
Yeah.
So it's like you could be in this and you're like, oh, just one more, oh, just one more, oh, just one more. And then next thing you know, you don't know where the time went, because it's not posted on your tablet or your phone or whatever.
Right. Yeah, you definitely will lose yourself in it. And, they take that into consideration, people that design the way that these apps work, you know what I mean? Like, for sure. But, it's not to say that phones and stuff are all evil. That's what's cool about all of our technology, is it can be used for, we'll call that evil, or it can be used for good. You can really be productive, and you can really organize a lot of shit and make a lot of shit happen if you decide to do that. So that's what's cool about that. But yeah, a lot of people have read that book, but it's a quick read, really good, really effective, very immersive. I love that book.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I don't know. What does 451 refer to?
That's just the temperature at which paper burns.
No shit. Oh
yeah.
My god. All right. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard of Bon Jovi.
Yes.
Okay. He had I think his second release, it was called 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Not a particularly, whatever, hair metal, glam metal, whatever rocky name. And I remember him in an interview, I might be a little butchering it, but it was like the record company suggested that because that's the degree that metal melts.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Like,
that's
okay.
Awesome.
I mean, and now you look back on it and you're like, oof, yeesh. Maybe not the best choice, brother. But, whatever. He also named one of his albums New Jersey. I mean, love for his state, but again, you understand what I'm saying here. Yeah. All right, let's go on. So that was so we have Asimov and Bradbury. Does the Bradbury book intertwine with anything musically for you?
Not really. Not really either. To be honest, I'm not sure if any of these do. They just kind of blow my mind. You know what I mean?
Then how about this? Instead of me asking each time, if any of them do, if you have any, just let me know. Otherwise, I don't want to, bore you with asking the same question 5 times.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'll let you know. I'll think as I'm talking if they actually do, because I didn't even consider that. But yeah. So number 3, I've got Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Another classic.
Okay. I admit I had known nothing about it.
Okay. Highly recommend. It's really cool. So it's about this kid. His name's Ender, and he's a super genius. And he's got 2 other siblings. He has a brother and a sister. And basically he gets taken off to this military academy and is groomed to become a leader. And he ends up becoming a general that helps fight off aliens that are supposedly threatening humanity. And he's just he's this military genius kid. He's like, I forgot his age in the book. I think he's like 10 or 11. And ends up being like in control of all of the human armed forces.
Is that what? Do you know when that book was created?
I don't remember. I want to say like 70s or 80s, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Because I would say if it was like in the 80s, maybe, I don't know if one person fed off another, but as soon as you tell me the synopsis, it kind of reminds me of War Games a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I'd have to look that up. But yeah,
gotcha.
It's definitely similar. And one thing that's cool about this book is kind of like Fahrenheit 451. There's parallels to today. And I mentioned he has siblings. Ender has siblings, and they're also super geniuses in their own right, and they end up becoming politicians. But they create these pseudo identities online.
Right.
And they end up swaying elections and becoming elected just by being these online presences. And that's what's crazy is that like they're on their tablets, as they're called. I think they're actually referred to as tablets in this book. But so basically predicting, social media and the ability to influence world opinion through social media. That was predicted in this book. It's pretty insane.
It's pretty fucking crazy because, I mean, right now, I'm not going to really expound on it a whole bunch because we don't need to, but this whole Q thing, it sounds exactly like that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And these are, so the majority of these novels so far, these are sci-fi, and you're talking about, like you said, they talk about tablets and how this, what becomes social media, I guess. It's like people say truth is stranger than fiction, but now the science fiction is becoming a truth. Yeah,
it's amazing when that stuff gets predicted. Because, I mean, they didn't have the internet back then, even in the 80s, it was like, it's nothing.
Oh, dude, I even going back to War Games, I do remember that, and you could see it, and it looks so archaic, but you used to have to, take your dial-up phone and connect it to something, and it would read the sounds. I used to have a job where I did some sales, and I had to type in everything. And once I entered everything, I had to go to a payphone, and I would put the payphone up to this computer, and it would listen to the sounds, and then it would create the invoices and create what needed to be sold. Or picked. Yeah, crazy stuff to me. I mean, now obviously we can go through the internet and do it, but at the time it was like this really giant. It looked like a walkie-talkie from like the 40s or something. And God forbid you lost that thing, man. That was I don't even know how expensive that was. Right.
Like, I know there was, when computer hackers back then would always use the payphone, and that was a means of getting into systems, was by using sounds and stuff like that. I don't know if you ever got into that stuff. You're a retired
I did. I went down that little as much as I could before the internet, especially from war games. You know, he showed me how to get, you know, how to make a call for free. Yeah. And when I got closer down or further down, and you know, internet happened, etc. There's a magazine or I don't even know what you call it. Maybe it's just a zine. I don't know. It was called 2600 because that 2600 megahertz something with phone. I forget.
Huh.
But
okay.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's still in print. But it was very underground. Like even in the back where the ads are, it says we have meetings every week in certain locations. And you know, I was in I think I was around the Fort Lauderdale area, and they said, "Oh, we meet here," and blah 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 blah. And it wasn't like a clandestine. It wasn't like a. It was out in the open. It was like at a mall food court where everybody got together. But
awesome.
The weirdest stuff, and people were most of the people just weren't into hacking for bad. It was just to see if they could do it.
Right.
Like somebody says, "Oh, if you do this, and this on a vending machine, it'll show you the exact temperature that the soda is kept at." I'm like, "Okay, that's nice. I don't know why you need to know that, but you, that's your interest, and God bless you. Knock yourself out with it, brother." Yeah. So yeah, and they had all kinds of crazy hack stuff in there. Actually, when we get off the call today, I'm gonna go check it out and see if that's still in print or where you can find it.
Right, that'd be cool. That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, man. Okay, so all right, so that is Ender's Game, and what is the next one? So we're at number 2.
Yes, number 2. Okay. This one's called Grasshopper Jungle. It's a newer book. I think it came out like 4 or 5 years ago. This guy Andrew Smith wrote this book, and he was pretty young when he wrote it. I think he was like maybe like 18 or 19 when he wrote it, and it's a really fun book. Basically, the plot is these kids accidentally release these military-grade, genetically engineered praying mantises
okay.
into the world, and they end up basically destroying humanity.
All right,
so,
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's a small town. I think it's in Ohio or Iowa or something, just in the middle of nowhere, and they stumble upon this military installation. But yeah, and it ends up being this love triangle between these friends, and that's what actually is what makes the book the most exciting, even though there's giant mantises running around eating everybody. But the way that all the descriptions are, it's this omnipresent narrator where they're just saying like how multiple things are happening at once, and it's just exposing very candidly like what's happening at the same time. Like one guy's just like sitting there watching porn or something, and then somebody else is being eaten alive, and another person is trying to like, you know, cook breakfast. It's just all these very candid descriptions of humans doing their thing throughout the day. It's really cool.
Very interesting. Oh man. You know, it's funny because as you're telling me that, I kind of already want to say, all right, so what happens? What like how did it end? I think I might have to dive into that one because I apologize, I don't know about that one either.
Oh, for sure.
But I think that might be something to check out, man.
It's amazing. I think it's usually in the library. At my library, it was in the teen section, so it might be considered a teen novel, but it's fucking awesome. Definitely recommend it.
Okay. All right, sir. Now, as I rub my hands together, we are at number 1. What is the number 1?
All right, number 1, I've got Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie, or Leckie, I don't know how to say her name. It came out, I think it came out in 2014, and it won the Nebula Award for whatever year it came out. And This book is fucking crazy. So, let's see if I can even describe what it's about in one sentence. So, it's sci-fi, it's in, assuming in the future somewhere. It's about this artificial intelligence, okay? And this artificial intelligence is in control of a warship.
Right.
So it's the leader basically of this warship, and in the warship there's humans of this race called the Ratch. And what's interesting about the main character is that in her ship, she's fully integrated with all the humans in the ship. So she can read, not read their thoughts, but she hears all the conversations, all the biometrics of every single person in the book. So she can hear everything that's happening all the time.
Is she the only one?
There's multiples. So each ship has its own intelligence.
Oh, okay.
So there's all these ships floating around of this empire, and they're all, waging war and doing their thing. So that's what's really interesting about this book, is that it's solely from her perspective, this artificial intelligence. So you'll be seeing conversations happening, you'll be seeing her thoughts, you'll be seeing memories from before happening. So it's really confusing.
Right.
So if you can accept that you're kind of not going to know what's happening and you got to put the pieces together later, you're going to love it. But if you need to know what's happening perfectly throughout the book, you're going to fucking hate this book. But go ahead.
Again, I know I've heard her name. And please continue with this book. And I'm wondering if there's any other books that she has that continue in this. I mean, obviously sci-fi genre, but did she have any other books that you read as well?
I think this was her first book. She had a couple of short stories before that, but I didn't read them. I haven't looked her up since I read this series back in 2014, 2015, but I hope she does. Hope she's got some other books.
Now, all right, man. Okay. So what drew you to this? Is it obviously, sci-fi, but is it what okay, so we have these ships. What is the, and I hate doing this because I don't really want to ruin anything.
Yeah.
But what's the main reason why is there a, like with the previous book, are there massive praying mantises trying to exterminate the world?
That's what's crazy about this book. I tried to describe the plot and I couldn't even do that with my last sentence. So yeah, let's see, how can I set this up? So there's the leader of the Ratch is this other artificial intelligence that is kind of a beefed up version of these other artificial intelligences. There's multiple versions of her throughout the Empire, all existing simultaneously as, they're different people, but it's all one intelligence operating these people. So she can never be assassinated or eliminated. So basically the main character gets pissed off at the Emperor because the Emperor is evil and decides to pull the plug and destroy her ship. So the word ancillary, there's another aspect to the story. There are these, whatever race that they end up conquering or people that commit crimes, one of the punishments is you have to become an ancillary. What an ancillary is they just take over your body, put, microchips and shit inside of you, and you don't exist anymore. You're just an extension of that artificial intelligence. If that makes sense. So in these ships, there's humans, like free reigning humans that make their own decisions to a certain degree, working alongside ancillaries, which are just, a human extension of the artificial intelligence operating the ship.
That is
so
crazy, man.
What she does is she gets pissed off and she jumps into one of these ancillaries and gets an escape pod, detonates the ship. And that's like the beginning of the book, so I'm not ruining anything. And
good. Okay.
Basically kind of starts this rebellion, this retribution against the Emperor. And what's so compelling about this book is that she's so cold because she's a computer, but she just is just on the very edge, just the precipice of becoming a human. So the whole time you want her to make the human decisions and be a human, and she doesn't quite give it to you, but sometimes she does. So it's pretty cool. And you've probably noticed that everything's a she, and in this race there's only one pronoun and it's she. So there's guys, there's girls, there's whatever, but you have no idea who it is. So all of the interactions and all of the relationships the romances that happen, you'd have no idea. It's like a guy and a girl and a girl.
Really?
For most of the book. And then there's a part where they start talking in somebody else's language where there are pronouns, and all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, I didn't realize that it was like that. So that's another interesting aspect of this book.
That is okay. So just to put that into a perspective, so everybody is called like a female pronoun, I guess, of
Yes.
she or her or whatever. But do you know that there are different sexes, or as you're reading it, do you think it's just?
Well, you'll notice it at the beginning, because there's a lot of different characters at the beginning, but they're all she's. So you're like, but then it's casually mentioned that all our pronouns are female. So
Interesting. That book, what would you say? Was that a few years ago? I don't know if you said it.
yeah, I think it came out in 2014 or 2013.
Okay.
Around then. So
And very interesting choice, because I'm going down that way now, where people are changing pronouns, and
right.
there's way more what is it, like everything's getting more to the forefront of, like, it ain't just male and female. There's a lot of different people out there, a lot of different genders and etc. And it opened my eyes, because I know what I've been, or what I feel like I am for years and years, and now it's like, oh wow, you feel okay, yeah man, no wonder you've been having such a hard time. Wow,
Right.
shit, I wish somebody would have been a little more up on that like 25 years ago or something. I can't imagine the struggle.
Yeah.
It's
'cause
crazy.
I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I'm a straight white male, and I've always known that I'm straight. So it's like, I don't just, trying to think about, like, if that wasn't the case, and I always knew that I wasn't, and then trying
Right.
to make heads or tails of what's going on, and like the whole, I think every person that has that has to have that trial of letting your parents know.
Sure. Yeah.
Who knows? That's such a big step, because depending on your parents, you don't know how they're gonna take that information.
You never do, man. And what's funny to me? It's like, I kind of knew some of this stuff was around. I whatever. I saw the birdcage. Nathan Lane. He got dressed up, and when he was on stage, they referred to him as her. Fine, that's great. But there was a band I interviewed, and dude, in a million years, I never would have expected this. It's a heavy, sludgy doom band, really caustic material, called Body Void, and great music. It's an overload for the senses, and they first introduced me to this word, which was cis-heteronormativity.
Right?
Are you familiar with that?
Can't say I am.
Okay, so let's just say, like, you and I, we have male parts, and we identify as males. We also identify that we want to be with a female that has female parts, and etc. So, okay, so that's
Okay.
where that's what was like heterosexual, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So now when it is now being kind of morphed into being called cisgendered, because that
Okay.
identifies with that. And then when you follow the norms of what's called cis-heteronormativity, it's just that idea that everything is like us. Like,
I see.
oh yeah, you're a female, you like males. You're a male, you like females. Yeah, I get it. And you fall down that hole. And now I'm interested to see what's going to happen in media, whether it's on television or movies down the line. I know, like Orange is the New Black had Laverne Cox on there. I don't know if there's any others or a lot of transgender people in movies. Maybe something's going to change. I have no idea.
Yeah, quite possibly. I can't cite any movies or anything, but I know that they're trying to make that change and give more trans people a chance.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in the game. I see that a lot in the game industry. There's a lot of support for that, and I think it's a good thing ultimately.
You mean like straight up video games?
Yeah, the game industry and the game audio industry specifically. That's what I'm involved with on the side. And
yes.
there's a lot of trans, there's a lot of non-binary composers out there, and they're killing it. And they're getting the chance that they deserve.
Well, good, man, and good for them. And bravo for having them, be brave enough to say what they want and what type of person they are.
Yeah.
Hats off to them, man, because I don't know, man. I just can't fathom it, because it just seems so normal, and
right.
like it's what it should be, but I don't know. I'm kind of battling on it. All right. Either way, thank you so much for this top 5. Now, the last time we talked, holy shit, it was a mind screw, because I got these headphones on that are really kind of noise canceling, but I heard this. I was upset. I was nervous for you because I thought there was a fire by you or something was on. Maybe you left something on the stove, and then you're like, no, I don't think that's on my end. And so I turn around and I see this thing going off, and I was like, oh shit, hold on a second. Oh my God. And somebody was burning something, or some fire was down in my building somewhere. So
wow.
I wanted to make sure, lastly, was there anything that we kind of didn't touch on for the latest Falcon Haptics release?
I don't think so. Just now that I have a chance to say it again, we're releasing our new full length on October 2nd. It'll be available most likely everywhere, for sure Bandcamp. So falconhaptics.bandcamp.com.
There you go, brother.
We're working on a new release already. Our first EP, Scuzzmaster, we still got plenty of physical copies of that.
I see it. There it is.
Beautiful discs here. Each CD comes with some slaps. Got our bitchin' slaps. And
nice.
if you buy one of those records from me, it'll come with a hot sauce stained love letter written directly from me to you. So
okay. What? All right. Damn it. I know we're getting towards the end, but what is the hot sauce of choice?
Oh man, so I'm pretty simple. I rock the Tapatio.
Tapatio.
It's the most cost-effective hot sauce that I just do not get tired of. Love that shit.
I got you. I almost feel like I go artisan every once in a while. I straight up, if I'm having some eggs or whatever, if I need to add some hot sauce in, Cholula. I like the.
Oh yeah.
I go with the garlic Cholula or the regular. Sometimes a habanero, but every once in a while you're at a green market and you're looking over and you're like, that looks pretty good. What do you got there?
Yeah. For sure.
There was a guy, Tahiti Joe, in Florida. He had this. That was the name of it, Tahiti Joe's hot sauce. He had like a Polynesian garlic hot sauce that was so damn good. Oh.
All right.
It makes me want to make that, because like my wife. It's funny, when I first met my wife, she was going to go out to buy. I talked about this before. She went out, was going to go buy some mayonnaise, and I said, well, shit, I can make that. And she says, why would you want to make it when we could buy it? I said, well, why not make it? Let's try it. Tell me what you think. When it's fresh, and there's no preservatives in it. You could see everything that goes into it. It's very simple. And she wound up loving it. And I'm thinking I would love to make a hot sauce, but I don't know. Like, I've cooked certain things that are like vinegar based and etc. And it's like I can't freaking breathe in the house.
Yeah, I've never made hot sauce before, but I know that. Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, I mean, I had this toaster oven that was getting kind of funky, and I hit the easy off to clean it out. Oh my God, I thought I was going to pass out from those fumes. Ugh.
Right.
All right, brother. Okay, Falcon Haptics, that's where to go. The top five sci-fis, we got that crushed. And you know what? When the new release comes out, I hope we can get a chance to chat again. Really enjoy talking to you, man.
Hell yeah. Enjoy talking to you too, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and have the best week, brother.
You too, man. Thank you so much.
Big thanks goes out to Nathaniel for giving us his time. Always have a great conversation. Now, if you want to hear the Falcon Haptics interviews, go back last year. It's an archived episode. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. But if you don't want to do that, go over to doomtombpodcast.com. There will be a link right there. Across all forms of social media, it's Doomtomb Podcast and doomtombpodcast at gmail.com. If you want to do an interview, you need a review done, you have a submission, let us know. Craniumradio.com, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Each and every Sunday, it's all the music you want to hear and a whole bunch more. All of these links, by the way, are in the show notes, much like the band is in the show notes as well. So I want you to stay healthy, stay happy. Next time, meantime, in between time, support your bands, reach out to your friends, you know, all that kind of stuff that I usually say at the end. And don't forget to stay heavy. It's so crazy. Even like, all right, so before we even start, I don't know what's going on in my elevator, but I went in there the other day. I don't know whether it was human or not. Something was left there. It was a. And I was just like, and I apologize. I don't know you very well, so I don't want to say, oh my God, there was a disgusting fucking dump in there. But that's exactly what it was. And I don't know, man. If it was my guess, I would think there's a nervous dog. As soon as they get in the elevator, they piss and they shit in it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, come on, man, really? And I tell the office, but they don't have any. There's nothing to do about it. It's just like maybe take your dogs down the stairs. Anyway,
elevators are. It's bad when something happens in an elevator. There's not a lot you can do about it. I cleaned this building, and I think an animal like died somewhere in the elevator, like a mouse or something died, and man, it was horrible because you can't get underneath the elevator. So it was just like for 2 months. It was like